Hey guys, I'm back with another video. It's been a while since I've done some WoW content and I really do apologize for that. I've been slacking, but I figure it was a great time to get back on the saddle and get back to the grind and give you guys some good videos to watch. With hardcore becoming extremely popular again, I thought it was fitting to not only make another hardcore warrior, but stream it as well. So make sure you guys check out the stream. I'm going to give you guys some gameplay instead of me just listing off tips on how to play a warrior in hardcore, how to be safe, things to look for, how to pull, things like that. And I'm going to do it while I'm playing the game here. I decided to choose the Naga Cave here in Feralis. Now, if you look at my hardcore death add-on, the red here means that this zone is extremely dangerous. So I wanted to show you why. And I wanted to show you, when you go out and solo things, like as a hardcore warrior, things you should be looking out for. And really just kind of like how to take it slow, but also in a very technical way. Now, I'm doing this video with no script, so I'm literally just going to be talking and playing. So if I, stutter or take a break in between talking or whatever, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to keep going and let's get this video started. Again, tips on how to stay alive or be safe as a hardcore warrior. So again, we are here. We did this quest last night on stream actually, and it was a lot of fun, but I wanted to come back here because I thought this was a great spot to show people kind of what I'm talking about and then also play out the situation. So the first thing I always do when I come to a place like this that either has a cave or mountains or tons of mobs is the number one tip that I can really give you right away is to scout. And what I mean by scout is I want you to kind of look around and kind of like identify the situation. So when I did this quest for the very first time, I literally took the first 5 to 10 minutes and I sat around and I looked at the types of mobs that I would have. And then what I would kind of be dealing with is there pats? Is there rare spawns? Is there any chests around? Is there any elites I need to be looking for? Where are the patrols? If you sit around and you scout out a little bit, you'll pretty find out quickly that you'll kind of, look at the situation differently. So right off the bat here, I know this guy's padding. So that is something we can look out for. Now, if I'm pulling a mob like somewhere around here, I got to know that this guy's going to be coming back at some point. After I've done my scouting and we start to pull, the next thing I do is I look at the mobs that I'm facing. So if you are familiar with Classic WoW, you notice that a lot of the mobs kind of have some of the same names. Like this one is the Hatecrest Sorceress, there's a Myrmidon, and then there's also another one here. Of course, we can't find it now, but it's called like a Wave Guard or a Elite Guard, something like that. Now, in Classic, you'll find that a lot of the name mobs share a lot of the same abilities. So when there are centaurs that are scouts or there's Blackrock Orc scouts, usually when they're scouts, you know they're going to net. Also, if their name has Hunter in it, or Trapper like the Gnolls, they all net, right? And that's something you need to look for. Something you also need to be paying attention to is that if it's a Naga or a humanoid, such as like a human, an orc, a centaur, a Gnoll, a Quillbore, they're going to run. So we'll talk about Hamstring in a little bit here, which is probably your best tool as a hardcore warrior. But again, after you scout, take a look at the mobs and kind of see what you're putting up with. So I know for a fact, before I even started to pull at this zone, I saw Sorceress. So I know Sorceress is a caster. Obviously, they have a mana bar. So I know they're either going to be casting a Fireball or a Shadow Bolt or something like that. But now, since we're dealing with Naga, I'm pretty sure like 99% of the time, it's going to be frost related. So I know they're going to be casting frost bolts, which is going to slow me down. So that's something I need to pay attention to. And they might also cast that right after they run. So not only am I slowed, let's say I missed the hamstring, they're running for free and I'm slowed. That's bad news, right? Now, if you don't know what the mobs do, what I also like to do is just walk up to the mob. Obviously not just walk up, but we're going to charge in and we're going to kind of feel it out. We're just going to sit here. I'm going to put on my battle shout. And we're going to sit here and just auto attack. So we know Frostbolt. So they Frostbolt, right? And then we're just going to swap back in the battle stance. I get an overpower here. And we're just going to see if they do anything else. Obviously throw my hamstring on, dead. So I didn't find anything else. Now it turns out these actually don't do anything else. Although most sorcerers actually do Frost Nova, but for some reason these don't. So we know that Sorceress Frostbolts. Let's go ahead and look at our Myrmidons. I'm going to range pull this one just to make sure so we have a safe distance. Let the Myrmidon walk to me. Again, the same exact thing. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to auto attack and we're going to see if anything crazy happens, or we can draw them out to see what abilities they use. So that way, when we go farther down in the zone, we're not, okay, boom, perfect. So I know they net, right? And now here's a tip with netting. When I get netted and it's a 9-second net and their health is pretty low, there's a chance I'm going to miss the hamstring, right? So what I like to do is I literally hit my escape bar and I will sit there and just wait for the net to expire, and then I'll start attacking again. That way I never have to put myself in a bad situation. In a bad situation where for some reason my hamstring misses, I'm netted for 8 seconds and they get to run off for free, right? That's terrible. That's not good. And you're going to put yourself in a bad situation. So what I like to do for nets is if I'm like just 1v1ing a mob and I'm netted, I'll just hit escape and I'll just sit there and I'll wait till the net expires and then I'll finish killing them. Because there has been times where I've seen deaths, or it's happened to me where I get netted, my hamstring misses or it expires and I don't have enough rage to put it back on. They get to run for free with no movement speed debuff and I'm stuck. And then they come back with 5 mobs, right? So again, scout the area. And then number 2, look at the mobs you're dealing with. Okay, so now we've checked out patrols. We knew that there was a serpent guard walking around here. We don't see him, so we're going to go ahead and we're just going to keep going. Right. We'll just keep pulling here. We know frost bolts. We're going to interrupt that, even though we just missed the interrupt, but it's okay. We're going to get our hamstring on early. Now, I want to talk about hamstring a little bit. I find hamstring to be very useful, especially if you have an Onyxia buff with the increased crit. Sometimes I just press hamstring just to press it. And especially for Arms Warrior in the build here. Now, this is mainly a PvP talent, but in hardcore, this talent is actually extremely useful if you get your warrior high enough. 15% chance to immobilize the target for 5 seconds. This is huge. You could potentially stun them so you could walk away and bandage for a little bit, or potentially just flee the area, right? Now, the only time this gets bad is when you're trying to kite them away from like a patrol or something, and then they get immobilized, right? So you need to kind of like pick and choose your battles with hamstring. But honestly, you should get in the practice of just hamstringing everything. And like I said, with the increased crit chance, or you have a pretty high crit already, hamstring can crit. And with that comes a deep wounds proc. So there's actually a lot of value in hamstring. So we're going to keep pulling here. Now we know what's at the zone already, but again, we're just going to play like technically we don't. So we're going to be safe here. And we're just going to keep pulling ranged. You should always have a ranged weapon. You should be getting a ranged weapon at like level 10 if you can afford it, of course. But a ranged weapon as a hardcore warrior is an absolute must. So we're going to go ahead and keep playing this, play it out. And then I'm going to show you guys what I do after we find, where we need to go. Now this quest, it makes you go all the way into the cave. If you're just doing a grinding quest where you got to kill, you got to get like Yeti hides or, things like that, I'll show you what I do with my cave strategies. But for this quest specifically, you actually need to go through the whole thing. So looking right here, we're clearing into the cave, right? So the cave's down the hill. What I like to do here is, okay, we've cleared this out. Let's see if there's any patrols that potentially come up here. And so far we haven't seen any, but I'm going to tell you right now there is one. We're just getting lucky and we haven't seen it yet. So if you see the patrol, obviously kill that. But we're going to make our way down. I already have my hamstring on. And if you didn't see, I actually critted from the hamstring. So I got free deep wounds from 10 rage off a hamstring, or netted, right? So now I'm going to press escape. Look at his health. He's not in running HP yet. The net's going to come off. And now I'm going to start attacking again. Put the hamstring back on. We got the immobilization. He has nowhere to go. If I could actually hit him, he's going to die. Dead. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to bandage. Now, I'm not going to go all the way in the cave because I've already done this quest and I've already cleared here a couple times trying to farm golden pearls and other pearls like that. But again, this is just for gameplay purposes. Okay, so I'm just pretending like we don't know what's going on down here, but there's tons of Naga down here. So if I wouldn't know that, and this is a sorceress, this is range, right? So I'm going to range polar and I'm going to line of sight. Line of sight as a warrior is your best friend. Look at this. Perfect. We have her cut off. She got the cast off. We're going to keep dragging her across the way here. We got a lucky resist. It failed. There's the LOS. Boom. I can hit blood rage, switch in the berserker, and now I can get the intercept off, interrupt her, And then we got a free immobilization. Now I can use Pummel. So she's casted 2 Frostbolts. I've interrupted both of them. She's essentially useless now. We put the Hamstring back on. We got double stun, dead. So a mob that's considered, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, my death log says this is the 2nd deadliest mob in all of Feralis and ranked 197, which is pretty high because there's like about 3,000 different mobs in Classic WoW. So this one is a dangerous mob. We just made it look like it was nothing based off of just line of sighting and taking care of our problem. So here, it looks like we're going to have 2, right? This is where I'm going to teach you about pathing. Pathing is when you pull things and you move it in a certain direction so it doesn't pull friends with it. So actually this is perfect. Look, here comes the patrol. We're just going to wait on it. Good. We're going to pulse our guild chat was talking to me. So we know that. And then also here, this is also potential patrol right there. We're going to wait on it. We're going to kill. Boom. Again, a deadly target. Not deadly at all. So here's what I was going to talk about with pathing. Do you see how these 2 mobs got close with each other, right? So let's say that they're right there. See how they're next to each other? So if I would have pulled it there, they would have been pulled together. This is what I talk about pathing. So we're going to pull him when he's actually walking by him. And watch this. I'm going to walk my character to the left, and he's going to follow the left side. That's pathing. So when you're tanking like dungeons or you're clearing out caves that are crowded, which once we get in the cave, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Pathing can actually save your life, and it can actually help you pull 1 mob at a time instead of getting 2 or potentially even 3, because what happens sometimes is someone will pull a mob and they'll just walk back, right? Well, turns out the mob is going to follow that path, so they're going to go diagonal to them, and then they're going to pull extra mobs with them. So we found out that the Serpent Guards cast Frost Shock. That's another slow. So all of these Naga in this cave or in this area all have some sort of CC on me, so I know that going forward. So this guy is now alone. He got pulled solo. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab him and we're going to kill him. And then we're going to talk about the cave a little bit more. So same thing here. If this was a ranged, we would do line of sight, but it's not. So we're just going to go ahead and keep our distance and keep range pulling. Now, I was kind of hoping that we would get arranged so I can show you what I mean by line of sight and pathing more. Let me get this one killed, and then we'll pretend like this is a caster so I can show you what I'm talking about when it comes to line of sight, especially in caves. All right, let's get bandaged up. Now we're just going to pretend like this Serpent Guard is a ranged. And actually, if you look, he is the deadliest mob in all of Feralis. And we've actually made them look pretty easy just by being careful. So potentially this guy might pull. And if you look down a little farther, you can see if paths are coming. So there's actually quite a few Naga in there. So we're going to pretend like this is a range pull. So we're going to sit here. There's a little line of sight here where we can pull. Now I'm going to pull, and then I'm going to run to the left side of the cave here, so this range target wouldn't even be able to hit me, right? And then it would have to come to me. Did you see how he V-lined to me? That's why pathing is important, because he V-lined to where I was going after I pulled him. So let's say there was a mob on the other side of that cave. If I would have pulled him and went over here, he would have grabbed the friend with him, and then we would have to deal with 2 of these. That's just not good. So as you can see, the cave here, there's a lot of mobs. So we're just going to go slow, and we're going to take one at a time. We don't want to take too much time, though, because the last thing we need is getting respawned on. Now, the thing is, what I like to do as well is kind of sit here and look for patrols. I know there's definitely one that walks through here. We just haven't seen it yet. But that's just kind of some of the tips I wanted to give you guys as far as clearing caves and going to new areas and kind of checking things out, Hamstring, and why hamstring can potentially be even bad sometimes for you. But line of sight and also pathing, which is extremely important. I hope this video was actually useful for you guys. And let me do one more for you actually. So we know that here, perfect. So we sat here for a minute. We know this pats. So watch, we're gonna mark it just in case we forget it pats, which I don't know why we would, but if we did, we know we can't pull it now because it's gonna pull that one. So we're gonna wait a minute, back up and watch. I'm gonna show you line of sight. We're gonna pull. Perfect. She's casting Frostbolt. I'm going to hide on the side of the cave here. Failed. She can't hit me. She has to come all the way around right to me. And I have a pummel and an interrupt waiting for her right there. We get the pummel off. The crit. We're going to put an extra hamstring on just in case. Dead. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Just take your time in there. Use line of sight to your advantage when it comes to the casters, and you guys will never have problems at all. I appreciate you watching the video. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys another time.